Sizzlers! Today we'll be making another comfort food dish, which is albondigas. I know a lot of people are scared to make these because they think it's super complicated, but it's really not, so let me show you guys how it's done. First step into making our albondigas is getting our meat ready. So in front of me I have some extra lean ground beef, which is 96% lean and 4% fat. And the reason that we get this is that it does release a lot of fat and you don't want all of that to be in your caldo. So we're going to use this one. It's a lot better and I do prefer it. I finely chopped some cilantro. I have some minced garlic and very finely chopped onion. We're going to mix all of this with our meat, along with some salt, pepper, and some egg. A lot of people don't add egg, but the reason that I do is because I add some uncooked rice and I mix it in here and I let the rice cook in there. If you don't add the egg, then the rice will expand and this will cause for your meatball to fall apart. Once I added everything into my meat, I'm going to start mixing it up. And you could kind of eyeball how much you want. If you want less cilantro, then you add less. If you want less rice, less garlic. I tend to add 1 tablespoon whenever I have a pound of meat. I add 1 tablespoon of each. But since I have less than a pound, I did add a little bit less. And you want your mixture to be thick. You want your meat to be thick. You don't want to feel all the rice and all the onion to where you can't make it into a ball like this. After I mix it, I will be adding my egg and it makes all the difference. All right, like I said, you're going to get your hands dirty. Make sure that you mix the egg in there. I know this is kind of weird to be adding the egg in here, but it really works. Now I'm going to start making my albondigas, and I like to make them a size where they're the palm of my hand. These will shrink, so this is a good size if you want them smaller because they're gonna shrink. But if you want them to stay this size, then you should probably make them a little bit bigger. So I added water into my pot and I'm going to let it get hot because that's when I want to add my albondigas. I don't want to add them when the water is cold because that's just easier to make them fall apart. So I added 4 cups of water. If you like your albondigas to be very soup-like, then you can always add more water to make the broth. Now that my water was hot, I added my albondigas. I did not drop them in. I carefully placed them in. And as you could see, since the water was already hot, the albondigas started turning brown and they are not falling apart. While our albondigas cook, we're going to chop up our veggies, for which I will add some carrots, some potatoes, and some calabacita or zucchini, whichever one you prefer. I like to cut these up into not so tiny squares. So I'm going to cut these in like this, and then I'll just cut them in half. This is good. Some people like to cut them in squares. I used to do that, but I figured that it was too small. So now I'm just going to cut them in halves. Whenever I'm making albondigas, I like to use these potatoes because I just love the color it gives. And also, like I said, the skin is very thin and I don't like to peel them. So sometimes you could find these potatoes really small to where you don't have to cut them. But since these are fairly big, I am going to cut them into chunks just like the calabacita. I will be using baby carrots just because I like these a lot better. I feel like they're a lot sweeter and I prefer them. You may use the bigger ones. It doesn't really make a difference. You can add them with the potatoes because these do take longer to cook, unlike the calabacitas. The albondigas have been cooking for 15 minutes and as you can see, the rice is expanding and they're pretty much a ball still. So now we are going to add 1 can of this tomato sauce, along with 2 cubes of this caldo de res de Knorr, and our potatoes and carrots. I tasted my broth and it needs some salt, which I will add. So salt is always to taste. I don't like my things to be too salty, that's why I didn't add it at the beginning. One thing that's totally optional that I do like to add is 1 chopped up tomato, just to make this broth a little more hearty and thick. It's totally optional, you don't have to. I just feel like it makes a difference when it comes to the thickness of it. It's been 20 minutes and my potatoes are almost fully soft, so I'm going to add my zucchini or calabacita. And I'm going to top it off with some cilantro. A lot of people like to top it off with some mint leaves or even some parsley, but I just love the taste that cilantro gives it. And I also did add some jalapeño. I very finely chopped it and added it in here just to give it a little kick. Close up so you could see how delicious this looks. And this ball is still very intact. You could see the rice and it's still perfectly browned. Alright Sizzlers, so this is what my albondigas look like. It was a super easy recipe, and as I said, it's nothing to be scared of. I really urge for you guys to try. Per usual, this is the way that I like to make my albondigas. It's not necessarily the traditional way or the right way, but it's what works for me, and it's what I'm trying to show you guys, because cooking doesn't have to be hard. It's really easy, and sometimes just changing a little few steps makes the recipe a lot more easier. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time.